lot of important news with Qin Guangcheng and the betrayal by the State Department in China. We've got flu study that sparked censorship. Fight is published at last for the super mega flu that can kill 90+% of people. We have Oklahoma City whistleblower, hero, grand juror, Hoppy Heidelberg dying of cancer. That being announced yesterday. We have a top link in the middle of drudgereport.com. Rand Paul launches campaign to end the TSA. That's an Infowars.com story. We've got a lot of news here. A lot. And Gerald Celente is going to be joining us in the third hour to talk about the economy, trends, and a host of other issues. But I want to just stop the presses right here. I want to just get everybody's attention, everybody to listen to me very, very carefully. A decade ago, maybe once a year, I would get on air and say, this is the biggest news I've ever covered. I remember coming back in '99 from an urban warfare drill in Oakland, where I witnessed Marines and foreign troops practice taking over Oakland and San Francisco and confiscating guns. And I came back with the video and I said, this is the biggest news I've ever brought you. During Katrina in 2005, I said the fact that they sent regular big army in with National Guard to confiscate guns, they announced it on the news, this is the biggest news we ever reported when it comes to our liberties in this country. 9/11, of course, up until 2001. I said, this is the biggest event ever. It'll be used to take our liberties, and you watch, it'll then be flipped from Al-Qaeda to the American people. That's now happened. There have been many of these benchmarks, but the article at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, breaking today, in the last 30 minutes, is staggering in its import. So I don't want to just cover this and then move on to the next thing. This confirms and validates everything that I have researched and seen in the last 17 years of deep focus. There is a giant underground semi-covert program to build a series of prison internment facilities at mothballed and current military bases, as well as sports stadiums, Walmart distribution centers, that's on record, and mothballed private prisons they've built. We already have the biggest prison population in the world, over 7 million. That's double what China, with 1,300,000,000 has. We're not just number one, we're number one by light years. And it's going to get worse. They are announcing arresting people for nothing and disappearing into a black hole. You know about the NDAA, the secret arrest and disappearance of citizens. First, people denied that was in the bill. Then it was admitted. Then Obama said he's going to veto it. I told you he wouldn't. Turned out he demanded it. He was just doing that so opposition wouldn't form. Then he said, don't worry, I won't use the power. Now he says he will. That is a criminal government, 100%. And police and military, before I get to this new news, you have a decision to make. I can open the phones up for police right now, and they will call in and say, yes, we train with the military, and yes, the military gets in plain clothes, generally, you know, just police jackets that just say police, and help us raid high-threat targets, mainly gun shop dealers, gun shop owners, veterans, people like that. Land rights people, folks like the man who had the little chicken farm up in Roswell, Georgia, and our intel is, and it fits in that Brigade Homeland was there and did kill him. Why not? Delta Force was used to kill the Davidians. Machine gun them. The flare footage was released. This has been a long-term strategic program. I've gotten documents. I've gotten eyewitnesses, Marine Corps officers to go public. Inroad to Tyranny that came out 10 years ago. It came out in February of 2002. The he'd been a Marine Corps officer, then become a police officer, then become a computer software developer, no longer a police officer. Driving down I-35, he'd heard my show about military checkpoints on I-35. Just south of Austin and Kyle, drives into a military checkpoint. They're pulling people out of cars. He gets out and says this is illegal. They yell at him. He showed me documents, photos, all of it. He was raiding gun shop owners as a Marine in the late 1980s in Norfolk, Virginia. Let me just stop there and give you the big news. The point is that we have the Emergency Centers Establishment Act. We have the John Warner Defense Authorization Act. We have the Enemy Combatant Designation. We have the NDAA. Write these down. Look these up. This is real. Don't sit there and say, oh, I heard a rumor on Alex Jones. I'm giving you absolute proof. Okay? The Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program started in the 80s, declassified in 97 by Clinton. Because he was proud of it. They had a dozen bases, and they opened a dozen more. They had Army running state and federal prisoners just to train them how to run a prison on bases. But this was secret. There were, and still are, it's expanded, prisoners under Army control, civilian prisoners, and they could keep it secret from the early 80s under Rex 84 until 1997. Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. I sent all this to Glenn Beck. He was going to do a show on it. Fox told him no. So he had those Judas Goat, Benedict Arnold, arch traitors, Popular Mechanics on, looking like total slime. I mean, they're not even good liars. Sitting there like Sylvester with a canary in their mouth, lying to people and saying camps don't exist and building straw men and showing camps that I waited till the morning, and they hadn't even done promos, and I said, I know what they're going to do. I told my crew months before, when Beck was hyping it, I said they're going to go to well-known debunked FEMA sites that we've exposed to debunk. And I said it that day, and they did it. I know the mind of the enemy. I live this. I know what's going to happen. I'm getting the big breaking news in a moment, but you've got to hear the build-up so you understand the larger spectrum. And I'm giving you only a snapshot, even though it sounds complex. By the way, Beck, you left Fox because they didn't want you to attack the New World Order anymore, and you've done a better job since. There's still time to repent and go public with the camps to your big audience. I don't want to get off into Glenn Beck. The point is, there is no future if we don't stop this. Now, I had police and military calling in yesterday, and I would ask them, hey, you work with the military and warrant service? Yeah, we do. You know, and they're like, you're not really supposed to talk about that. That's illegal. That's illegal. That's why it's kept secret. That's illegal. And the answer is, well, we've just, I had this Marine of Desert Storm 1 and some other operations drive me when Fox News wanted to interview me for Mancow. And I said, Mancow, I'm not flying there. I've told him I don't want to be on Fox. They say I do. And he begged and begged and begged. Nice guy. It's a side issue. And he said, just come do it by satellite. And Fox likes to send a car to make sure you show up on time. So here comes the car out to the country, pick me up. It's a Marine. He's got the Marine, button on and stuff. And he goes, Alex, we've got Marines on the border for decades, I'm like, yeah, I know. You guys shot that U.S. citizen goat herder there. And he goes, yeah. And, well, he raised up his BB gun. And I said, yeah, the guy was basically mentally retarded. But that was a side issue. He thought he was telling me something about how, yeah, I know there's troops on the border. That's the point. You leave it wide open. The point is, all this is illegal because Congress should be doing that. And it should be public. And it should be to defend the border, not to control who can bring drugs in and who can't. The issue is there's a giant shadow government that now has been building this up and training and getting it ready for decades. Really since the 70s. Heated up in the 80s, accelerated in the 90s, and now it is in full train. You saw all those videos of tanks all over the country. Big mile-long, 2-mile-long trains with Bradley fighting vehicles and other vehicles being delivered with woodland and grassland camo paint jobs for the U.S. all over the country. Desert to the southwest, camo to Michigan. And they are caching these at secret backup points, not the local armory, which they know citizens may take. They are caching them and preparing for war. You've heard the military on this show. When they just talk about secession in the Texas legislature, they were on alert in Oklahoma and Tennessee and Louisiana and New Mexico to invade the Texas. You're like, oh, yeah, right. Oh, you didn't remember last year when the unanimous House said you can't grab people's genitals, TSA? What'd the feds say? We're going to run a blockade. And the Speaker of the House said, what does that entail? We'll put fighter jets in the air. We will shoot down aircraft that enter the state of Texas. See, we're not in Kansas anymore. Perry, just to get political points, says we may have to have secession. The legislature talks about it. We have it in treaty rights, Lone Star State. Not really the only state that has that, though. New Hampshire and others have right to revolt as well and right to secede. They really all do, but stated in the founding. And the voluntary entry by the treaty, by the country of Texas. My forebears created with many of your forebears. And they said, listen, we're going to put F-16s in the air. We're going to militarily blockade you. This was Civil War. That's how the Civil War started. Okay, this is real. This is real. And let me tell you what they're going to do when we get back. They're planning to roll this out. They're planning to come arrest me. They're planning to arrest Ron Paul, G. Edward Griffin, Gerald Salente, Joel Scalzon, George Norrie, Glenn Beck, Matt Drudge. I'm not joking. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plan for re-education camps in America, a political dissidence. It's the top story at Infowars.com. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plan for re-education camps in America. Well, what do you see in the KSLA TV piece about the clergy response team? They say, we work with the military that during martial law, you'll do what's required of you and submit in the camp and take your forced inoculations and turn your guns in and let your children be sent to another center. And they practice picking your kids up at the school, FEMA does, and taking them away and not telling you where they go. This is all part of the martial law system. That's why when somebody sees a gun, they lock down half the town where you live all the time. It's about training you to be a prisoner. TSA, it's all prisoner training. That's what happens when you get to a prison, is they do what the TSA does. It's prisoner induction. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plan for re-education camps in America. If you want to see what it looks like in an urban warfare drill, you can watch my film, Police State 2000, or in the film that came out 4 years ago, Children of Men, when they're taking people into the camp processing area on the buses. That's exactly what Abu Ghraib and others look like. And the training they do over there, they admit, is for here. And they grab your wife, they grab your kids, and they got people working in these things that like to rape kids. Remember, that's in the Army's own report on Abu Ghraib and other camps. Raping of children with battery acid. Look it up. I'm not joking. Continue. Leaked U.S. That's Jeffrey Dahmer. That's what the good guys do now. It's not the general military. It's special perv units. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plan for re-education camps in America. Political activists would be pacified to sympathize with the government. This is a leaked U.S. Army document prepared for the Department of Defense, contains shocking plans for political activists to be pacified. We're going to put that PDF on screen now. Again, leaked U.S. Army document prepared for the Department of Defense contains shocking plans for political activists to be pacified by PSYOP officers, psychological warfare officers, into developing an appreciation of U.S. policies. This is domestically, it goes on to say. Now, that's teaching them how to have Stockholm Syndrome, enjoy their masters, and most cowards do. They do a mind flip where they actually believe it. Thank you for torturing me. Thank you for putting me in a labor camp. I understand my children need to be kept in another area, and then the other minions in the camp will tattle on you and things, creating a psychology that they have power and watch you be drug away and tortured because they heard you talk bad, and they'll actually start smiling and kissing the rear end of the abusers. And this is what America is now. This happens in every other country. This is the Gulag Archipelago. This is what Alexander Solzhenitsyn talked about. You want to be slaves? You got it. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. So let me continue. This is at Infowars.com. It should be the #1 story in America today, but you'll send it to friends and family, and they won't even go look and find out it's real. They'll just say, oh, that's not true. Oh, the NDAA isn't real? The checkpoints on the highways with the TSA isn't real? None of that's real? That's why I got so mad and started screaming at that guy yesterday who called up, and he didn't deny that he had the National Guard marching around in Minnesota on the streets to condition people. He just said that I was being biased. Oh, yeah, you bet I'm biased towards freedom. You bet I've been to dozens of urban warfare training drills and witnessed them trained to come in our houses and take our kids away from us and take our guns and beat the daylights out of us if we're lucky. You bet I'm biased against that, pal. That's why I went into a rage. Because I'm so upset about what we're going into here. And I want to turn it around. But your level of denial out there is not helping, folks. The document entitled FM 3-39.40. By the way, I've got old manuals, what they did in Vietnam and stuff. This is right out of it when you read it. Resettlement and Internment Operations. Again, Internment and Resettlement Operations, PDF, was originally released on a restricted basis to DOD in February of 2010. Remember, that's when the documents came out about the massive ramp up and build up to hire tens of thousands of additional internment specialists for in the U.S. during civil emergencies. And it said to run the barbed wire and the checkpoints and the different jobs you'd have and then the crews getting the camps ready with water and latrines and all that. Billions of dollars being spent, and Pentagon whistleblowers calling us and pointing out documents that were on the federal purchase order sites, and then the so-called patriots all going, there's Alex again, fear-mongering. Again, even our supposed people that are awake are so cowardly that they won't even admit how dire our straits are. If we're going to get out of this, we're going to have to grow up and realize what's happening. I'm going to try to shut up when we come back and just read Watson's article. But it is important to get this out to everybody now. It's at Infowars.com.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
This country is so soft and has had so much freedom, people have no idea the type of hardcore evil that has been premeditatedly developed and put in place. It is a program. I know exactly where it leads from history, but in their own documents. It is guaranteed that the global elite are trying to bankrupt and break this country, destroy the family, bring in hellish Agenda 21, and re-educate this country. In fact, we have the clip of the Attorney General saying, I met with the media to brainwash the public against guns. This is brainwashing. That's why they have the military in all the schools now. I've worked in radio stations. I've been in 590 as a guest when they bring in a PSYOP officer with a book he's published about how great Afghanistan is. And the guy confronts me in the hall with his eyes twinkling, you know, getting off on the fact that he's a secret agent. And I just said, man, you're a traitor. And he was in there running PSYOP saying, this is like 5 years ago, that, well, Bruckheimer says that we kill men, women, and children, but, and then in the hall trying to intimidate me. So I just blew up at the guy and told him he was a traitor. I mean, just because, I want to say something, just because you've been brought into this as a senior police officer or military officer or bureaucrat or contractor, you're being fed psyops and lies as well. Your future is being destroyed. Just because you've joined with this through peer pressure, you know, they get you in and slowly test you, and by approximation, you'll do anything. I mean, I don't need the police to call in. I have the documents. We first broke in '98 because the FBI showed up at an Army checkpoint where Mike Hansen, my camera guy, just ran into it on I-35, and they were telling him not to film. They were searching cars, searching buses, and the FBI agent gives him a document, and it says restricted. He goes, here's the press release, and drives off. It had the phone numbers, Fort Hood, and the 77 counties it responds to, the other bases that respond to the other counties that's in my film, The Takeover. And then I started talking to police officers over the years, and I found out there was this giant secret program. They send the Army, the Marines in when a veteran won't give their guns up, when a farmer won't give their land up. The military's been killing Americans for at least 20 years. Well, since the late 80s that I know of. So 24 years or so. I'm going to explain again. The regular Army and Marines kill citizens, from my intel, on a weekly basis. And once they get the police involved in something that's illegal, they're compromised. And again, our intel is, that's why we can't get the Sheriff's Department, the Marshal's Office, and the police to say they were there. And I've since made some calls and confirmed what the caller told us about family at the base. They sent Brigade Homeland out of Fort Stewart in there to kill that guy that wouldn't come out of his house in Georgia. That's why they're acting so freaked out when I sent reporters up there. I knew, my nose smelled something on that. But it doesn't matter. I have the interviews, I have the documents in other cases. Remember the head of Brigade Homeland in Army Times 4 years ago said, yeah, we're going to be pulling triggers on the American people. We'll also be helping at car wrecks and things. That's the PR, PSYOP. He said, we're going to be pulling triggers. The Army Times didn't retract that. They just removed it 2 days after we pointed it out, but we saved it. That's why you have DWI checkpoints run by National Guard, Big Army, Marines, Air Force MPs are a big part of this. All right, continuing here. That's why at the Kentucky Derby, that's why at the Super Bowl, now at high school sports, the Army's there. And they're running security, and they've got live ammo. It's to get everybody acclimated. See, the evil people that have hijacked our government have to sell us that torture's good, and sell us that checkpoints are good, and sell us that the TSA is good, and sell us that tyranny's good, and sell us that all these wars are good. And I heard a caller yesterday to a friend of mine, Jeff Ward's show here locally in Austin on 590 AM, one of our local affiliates. And they were talking about Afghanistan 10-plus years later, will it ever end? I heard a good old boy call in, the ignorant type, and he was associating, and I'm going to get to the concentration camp news, the biggest breaking news ever. He was associating his power with the system, and he said, these people just keep killing each other, so we go in there and we say, you quit killing each other, or we're going to kill all of you. We'll just kill everybody in the country. And let me tell you, that's what I hear from a lot of people. And it's this, we'll just parking lot them. Most of these guys have never been there, don't know the history. They don't know that it's basically medieval over there. Those people aren't attacking us unless you attack them. It's a blood vendetta, just like people were in America until 50 years ago. You kill my brother, I kill you. That was the old rule. So we're these castrated men that but act tough all day and go, just parking lot all the Arabs. Really, the global banks hate you even more than those Arabs because they know you could revert back to being a caveman at any time, which is what they fear. They want the little metrosexual males running around, you know, being bossed around by their wives or girlfriends. That's the end of that's what they want. You understand that? That's what all this is about. And I heard a caller calling. It was so incredibly eloquent, but he was also passionate. And he was like, I can't believe this is America. I can't believe George Washington froze his butt off at Valley Forge and crossed the Delaware and Trenton, New Jersey, and went through all those battles over 7 years so that we could talk about just genociding whole groups of people. And he went on to say even Hitler, when he went into a country, didn't genocide everybody. And so you can keep your culture. This guy's like, you'll take our culture, you're dead. What is our culture? A plastic, globalist, fake facsimile, garbage-filled system. And the caller went on to say, that's what the government does. They say, we're going to give you shots and we'll take your kids. And you're going to not spank your kids. And we're going to do what we say, or we're going to send SWAT teams. It's a bunch of global social engineers that telling us what we're going to do. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. All right, again, this is the biggest news I've ever covered because it confirms everything we already knew. I already know this, but the fact that this is on the major GovTrack sites and the fact that we separately have the bids, the bid process for all of this that government people have called up. I've had government employees, high level, mid-level, call up, say their names, be guest on the show, and have the courage to come on and say, all right, let's walk through this on air, going through these government purchase sites and these government bid sites. You see this, you see that. That's for the barbed wire. That's for the checkpoints. That's for the internment specialist. That's for the... Well, now we have the manual. This is public. This is confirmed. We now have the manual. Ladies and gentlemen, for how they're going to break the people up, how they're going to control them, and how they're going to run PSYOPs on them. And we have the clergy response team stuff where they're going to have the preachers inducting people into these sprawling camps during the collapse. See, they'll also sell it that you need to be in it because of relocation, but then there's going to be prisoners who are troublemakers, see. There's going to be camps within camps, just like at Abu Ghraib or just like at Camp X-Ray. And they've got the whole charts of how they do it. Now, this was secret. This got leaked. But this is now on the official government sites. They're confirming it's real and, of course, doing an investigation so they can arrest whoever leaked it. Well, there's going to be more leaking. The globalists go full bore with all this. There's going to end up being a major shooting war in this country, and it's not going to be documents that are going to be leaking. It's going to be brains and guts and blood. And by the way, I've seen enough in life to know I'm not looking forward to that. I tell you, this is real, ladies and gentlemen. This is real. They plan to march the U.S. military and the police right into the American people. And in a way, that's why they're teaching all the police, you will face veterans, you will have improvised explosive devices against you. When they're taking people's kids and taking people's guns and everything's collapsing, the feds will stage a few bombings to up front to demonize the veterans, but they'll be real attacks, actually. They're planning a total civil war where people are forced, well, I can't go to the camp, you're not going to take my kids, and then these vets are going to go wait for people on the highway. They're going to wait for the cops and the military, and it's on. And again, the globalists plan to destroy our military with this. They soft kill you with the vaccines and the rest of it. They plan on you being defeated by the American people, and that's public. They admit they're going to use troops from 15 nations during civil emergencies to deal with insurrection and terrorists, NLE09, FEMA.gov. Type in NLE09, FEMA.gov. You'll read it. I mean, this is so hardcore. The master plan to use us against each other to kill each other. And what do you do when they're coming to take you to some stinking camp and take your little children from you? The police don't need to be told this. You understand you're going to face millions of people. You understand you're going to be absolutely stomped into the ground. You understand that, don't you? And that's not talk. That's a real analysis. But that's the plan. We cannot allow this to take place. Heaven help us. This is going to be so horrible. And again, think of all the things you didn't think would actually happen that have now happened. Think about what we've turned into. We've got to repent and ask God to heal this country. And we've got to have the police and military speak out. Heaven help us. And here's what's going to happen. Most of the military is awake. 70+% gave their donations to Ron Paul. A lot of the police are waking up right now. But the problem is, once we start killing each other, and they'll prime it, just like with the Shiites and the Sunnis, where they would blow up mosques and stuff, the CIA and others, to get everybody fighting with each other. MI6 got caught doing it. Israelis got caught, London Guardian. Once they get us killing each other, it'll just start up on its own. Listen, we've got to be smart enough to not do this. That's why they've infiltrated militias. That's why they're always trying to get them to attack the military and police preemptively to start this war. That's why when my guys pulled up in Pittsburgh to talk to the military, they called the police on them and said they were terrorists just for saying, hey, you're violating posse comitatus. The military was seeing us as enemies. But if you show the military the hat trick, if you show them how they've been manipulated, it's so simple. They go, oh, yeah, I get that now. And then you show them all these documents and how this was all premeditated and how when they're out of the military, they're now the #1 enemy. Oh, that really, oh yeah. They know you're going to get out of the military and understand how you were fooled. When you're 18, 20 years old, you're not. That's why you're the enemy. Let's continue. That is the enemy of the globalist. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plan for re-education camps in America. Political activists would be pacified to sympathize with the government or to be given Stockholm Syndrome is what it is. A leaked U.S. Army document prepared for the Department of Defense contains shocking plans for political activists. See, this confirms the camps, which were confirmed, but they said, oh, for emergencies. It confirms they're political. To be pacified by psychological warfare officers into developing an appreciation of U.S. policies. That means banker policies. While detained in prison camps inside the United States. What did I play just yesterday, or 2 days ago? Attention, attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience. I shot that video, you're saying. And then I show video in Police 2000 where they admit it's for citizens in America in gun confiscation. The manual, the document titled FM 3-39.40, linked at Infowars.com, Internment and Resettlement Operations PDF, was originally released on a restricted basis to DOD. Yeah, they can't even let regular military get this. In February of 2010, but has now been made public. Yeah, leaked. The manual outlines policies for processing detainees into internment camps, both globally and inside the United States. International agencies like the UN and Red Cross, see the headline could even be UN to run FEMA camps, are named as partners in addition to domestic federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA. Oh, man. Rural Council, all of it. Heaven help us. The department makes it clear that the policies apply within U.S. territory and involve DOD support, I'm quoting, to U.S. civilian authorities for domestic emergencies and for designated law enforcement and other activities, including man-made disasters, accidents, terrorist attacks, and incidents in the U.S. and in territories. Aside from enemy combatant and other classification of detainees, the manual includes the detention of civilian internees. Every time in Austin and everywhere else, they set up aircraft hangars or bus terminals and put barbed wire in them and put you inside. And then run buses to make you sick. Oh, man, it's bad. In other words, citizens who are detained for security reasons, for protection, or because he or she committed an offense against the detaining power. You hear that quote? You're detained, permanently detained. Once the detainees have been processed into the internment camp, the manual explains how they will be re-educated. You heard me right. It says re-educated. And what has Obama said? They say when they... Well, they say in the manuals under the FEMA Corps, when your parents are arrested, you're sent to a youth camp where they put peer pressure on you, and they're even able to break most people's children and have them turn against their family. And Rahm Emanuel told C-SPAN how they were going to do that, how you'll be sent to these camps. Let me tell you, you're not putting your filthy hands on my kids, you scumbags. You understand that? Let me tell you, folks, this stuff all goes down. We have got total criminals in control who are taking an absolute blueprint of evil against us. It goes on. Once the detainees have been processed into the internment camp, the manual explains how they will be re-educated with particular focus on targeting political dissenters into expressing support for U.S. policy. The re-education process is the responsibility of the Psychological Operations Officer, also known as a traitor against America, I should add, whose job it is to design PSYOP products that are designed to pacify and acclimate detainees, or DCs, as they're called, to accept U.S. or IR facility authority regulations. That's UN, ladies and gentlemen. According to the document, that's a quote. The manual lists the following roles that are designed to the PSYOP team. Identifies malcontents, trained agitators, and political leaders within the facility. Oh, yeah. They're going to turn me over to the absolute just torturers, man. Yeah, well, good luck. Good luck. Problem is the coward torturers will sit back while troops are dying, bringing people into these pigs. Whew. Tell you what. This is so evil. Identifies malcontents, trained agitators, and political leaders within the facility who may try to organize resistance or create disturbances. Yeah, you don't want to try to escape out of the camp in America. Oh, my God. Develops and executes indoctrination programs to reduce or remove antagonistic attitudes. Identifies political activists. Provides loudspeaker support such as administrative announcements of facility, instructions when necessary. I'm going to come back with the rest of it. I'm reading directly from the document. Sick of the globalist, eugenicist, control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure. And it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139. Don't worry, tyrants always fall. And I know the lay of the land. I've thought about this probably more than anybody out there alive who's on the side of liberty. We're going to win. Some of us aren't going to make it through this, but that is not what matters. Freedom and dignity and honor and innocence. Every time I look at my children, other people's children, how innocent and good they are, I realize that we just absolutely should be honored to fight this tyranny and should not be afraid at any level. The only fear you need to have is of not, while you're alive this one time, standing up against these people in this test. But this is so real. And again, it's accelerated. It's built to a fever crescendo. My father was approached by a patient of 10 years who revealed to him he was a Homeland Security spy and wanted him to spy on his patients. My dad played along with it to discover more and found out it was real. Called the card number, all of it, and then went to talk to the dentists that work under him, and they had all been visited at their homes by other Homeland Security. Ladies and gentlemen, the average person gets approached by this and gets on a power trip. If you're out there listening and think you're special, a preacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a government person, a InfraGard corporate person, you think you're special, you're always told that, you're known as a dupe, useful idiot, moron, okay? And the type of people, you know, my dad said that this person, you know, is very narcissistic, very weak. He said the Homeland Security people he talked to were the same way. Well, yeah, we're fighting an army of just scum. I mean, these people are filth, but they've got our military working for them. So what are they going to do when most of the military is awake? They're going to have stunts. They'll blow up Chicago with a nuke, or they'll attack a bunch of bases with rogue groups and put patsies on TV and then say, we attacked the military. But I don't see them getting away with it if we get this information out. You know, Ron Paul will be on national shows and go, what about Alex Jones? You're on a show and admitted camps are going on. He goes, well, I'm not saying that's happening now, but it could be a danger. No, it's real. It's real. They don't want you knowing. Homeland Security got Time Warner to ban the Jesse Ventura show that I basically honchoed. I mean, that one episode was like 85% Alex Jones, you know, my seal. It was real. And they went absolutely conniption ape, threatening. Well, I'm not supposed to get into it. Not supposed to get into it. The point is, this is real, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, if you were on the area I'm at and you see what I see, let me tell you it's real. And let me tell you it's bad. And you heard the cops yesterday, people going, yeah, we do have the military on warrant service. Yeah, it's secret. See, I mean, that's so illegal. Giant covert operations that they're now just phasing out. And it goes on. Provide loudspeaker support. In fact, get that video we played 2 days ready. The video we played 2 days ago ready where it's attention, attention, attention. Helps the military police commander control detainee and D.C. Populations during emergencies, plans and executes PSYOP program that produces an understanding and appreciation of U.S. policies and actions, which means banker policy inside the U.S. Our policy is the Bill of Rights Constitution, but you hate that. Remember, this is not restricted to insurgents in Iraq who are detained in prison camps. The manual makes it clear the policies also apply within U.S. territory under the auspices of DHS and FEMA. The historical significance of states using internment camps to re-educate detainees is In fact, that it is almost exclusively practiced by repressive and dictatorial regimes like the former Soviet Union and Stalinist regimes like modern-day North Korea. Then he goes through how we've documented it all and the other admissions. Ladies and gentlemen, red alert, DEFCON 1, maximum alert, maximum alert, maximum alert. Get this article at Infowars.com. Get it out to every talk radio host, every website, to your police chief, everyone. It's hour number 2. We're going to have open phones and other news during this hour. Quite frankly, I have trouble covering anything but this. The import of it is just gargantuan and staggering. Always informative. One of my mother's favorite guests, Gerald Celente, is coming up in the 3rd hour. I want to explain something here. If we give in to fear, if it freaks us out as the camps, the re-education, as all of this is exposed and then implemented, and the highway checkpoints, all of it, if we give into it and decide to submit to it thinking we're going to be safe, we allow the full tyranny to come in. They've set up their command bases of evil, and they're trying to roll it out now, but it's one thing to set it up, another thing to roll it out. This is the time that tries men's souls. This is the beginning of the fight. The beginning of all the preparations we've made, all the desperate warning and then copying pamphlets and DVDs and writing Infowars.com on the Federal Reserve notes. All of the trench warfare in the info war. All of our PSYOPs of truth up against their mountains of sophisticated brainwashing and programming. Truth up against lies. This is it. Toe-to-toe with the New World Order. Toe-to-toe with people that funded Hitler, Stalin, Mao, and all the others. It's all just beta test. This is the big attempt to take down the Republic. This is the big enchilada, the big kahuna. This is it. This is the beginning. You already see stuff's getting wilder by the minute. And the next 4 or 5 years are just going to be insane. And if they bring in a Mitt Romney and then have terror attacks, a lot of Americans will go along with this. Because first they're going to have the Army in turn a bunch of disheveled Occupy Wall Street type people, and then it'll be some black nationals, and it'll be some illegals. That was the Rex 84 plan, was to roll it out that way. See, they expertly get Obama to set up a bunch of it to get the left behind it, then they bring in a Republican, use it on the left, then bring a Democrat back in, and I mean, this could be a 10-year operation, or it could be this year, or Obama could set off nukes, his controllers could, and say domestic groups did it with Al-Qaeda. I mean, it's all there. They've got different scenario attack profiles, but just know they always planned to end the fake war on terror against Al-Qaeda and say it was for guys wearing John Deere hats and cowboy hats and people that love, you know, Andy Griffith from Mayberry. And that's basically what it is now. It's just pell-mell, pedal to the metal, bum rush demonization of people that the globalists don't like. And that's Americans. If you are somebody that the Founding Fathers would like, if you're somebody who just common sense and wants freedom, private property, Second Amendment, men are men, women are women, when cars were fast and there weren't poison additives in the food. I mean, if you're just a straight-up regular guy who isn't a coward, the New World Order sees you as a threat. If you're a metrosexual, trendy, walking around, acting like a moron, they love you. Just drink your fluoride, eat your GMO, take your vaccines, get a neurological disorder at 40-something, get cancer at 60-something so they can suck all your savings out. You'll never know what hits you. That's who they want. That's who they want. And I look at what pus-filled, weak vessels the New World Order people are. How pathetic they are. Only the fact that good people have a blind spot towards evil is the only reason these guys can attack us. It's like we're wearing blinders. Take the stinking goggles off. Take the plugs out of your nose and smell the rotten flesh of the New World Order and listen to what's being said. Because let me tell you, the out-of-control, classical, comic book level tyranny is staring you in the eyes. I mean, it's lined up right there. Not a game. Not a joke. It's toe-to-toe with the New World Order. So get the word out while we still have communication systems. Give the number out when we come back. Stay with us.